Good morning, or mid-morning, or good afternoon. My name is Stephanie. Welcome to the KetoMom page. I want you to know this phrase: the only way you fail is if you quit. We're going to talk about quitting. We're actually diving into chapter 16. If you quit, you lose. So we go through this book. We've been going through a book for the last year, sometimes early mornings, sometimes mid-morning, depending on what our mornings look like. This week is a pretty busy summer week for us, which is great, between driver's ed and horse camps and so many things that we drive kids back and forth from. So we're going to touch on the idea of quitting or not quitting. What does that look like? We're diving into chapter 16. If you've been following along, I'd love to know if you've been following along, I'd love to know, are you enjoying the book? Are you learning anything? And are you implementing? The key to anything, when you're learning from people, mentors, books, podcasts, is to put it into action. You can gather so much information, you can learn so much, but it's not until you put it into action does it really work. And so I love to read books and I love to learn from other people, and I have to remind myself I need to slow down a little bit and make sure I'm actually doing what the book says. Otherwise, what's the point, right? So as you're tuning in, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from, and let's do this. It is Wednesday, Wisdom Wednesday. What is one piece of advice that somebody has given you? It can either be about keto, it can be health advice, or just a piece of wisdom that somebody has given you that's always stuck with you that you could share with others. What is a phrase, a quote, something that you have been told that you're like, I've always thought about this. Here's a really great piece of advice that somebody shared with me. We'll say Wisdom Wednesday. So something that I love to tell people is just take the next step. Like, what's your next thing you need to do? When people get overwhelmed or discouraged or I don't know what to do, my husband's great at this. When somebody comes to my husband and they ask for advice or they ask a question, my husband will say this. If they say, I just don't know what to do here, or how do I start this, my husband will go, but if you did know, because if you just take a step back, you probably know what you need to do for fat loss. You know what you need to do, right? And so I like to say, I'll tell people, what's your next step? And it doesn't even have to be, let's say you're working on a relationship or finances or your health. It might not even pertain to that, but when I was a young mom and I had 4 little girls, my mentor would say, okay, Stephanie, I know you want to get this big project done, but what's the next thing you need to do right now? And I would go, oh, yes, I actually need to go switch the laundry. She's like, and then you prioritize your day, and then every choice matters. You make better choices, or you choose not to, and then you waste your day. So she'd be like, are you going to lay down and take a nap, or are you going to work on something you want to work on? Are you going to make an excuse and not work out? Or are you going to, do you know what I mean? So every choice matters. I like to say 1% better, 1% worse. We're diving into chapter 16, and here's just a couple thoughts for you this morning. He says, there's a common thread that runs through the lives of exceptional people. They have been beaten up, hit on the head, knocked down, and for years they get nowhere. But every time they're knocked down, they stand up, they get back up. You cannot destroy these people. They will get up no matter what, and they'll keep going. He says, quit quitting and start starting. He talks about the power of, he's like, listen, there are no losers, only winners and quitters. He's like, the only way you fail is if you quit. If you get knocked down, if you had a bad day or a bad week, listen, oftentimes people will message me and they'll go, oh my goodness, I ate the donut. I'll have to restart tomorrow. And I'm like, just because you made one choice today that might not feel like it was the best choice doesn't wreck the rest of your day. Just because you slept in or you didn't do that morning thing you wanted to do, it doesn't wreck the rest of your day. You have many more hours to choose better, to choose or make the right decisions that will take you in the direction you want to go, right? So don't let one choice wreck the entire day or weekend or week. You get back up and you keep going. He says the only life we've got is what's left. If it's up to you to make it a better quality life than you currently have. You cannot live on oh good grief, you think I could read this morning. You cannot live on what it could have been. You've got to live on what will be. The future is your choice. He's telling stories and he's like, so many people will go, well, it could have been. If I would have done that in the past. If I would have, then I would have. If I would have, then. You can't live in that space. You got to go, I've got today, I've got right now, I can make better choices. I'm going forward. I'm going to look forward. I've learned from the past, but I'm not living there. I'm moving forward. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going. Many people who fail did not realize how close they were actually to success. They gave up too quickly. Where have you given up? Where do you feel like you're giving up? If you're on that verge of like, this is not going to work, don't do it. Don't quit. Take a breath, get back up, and keep going. He says you cannot live on what could have been. You've got to live on where you are going. Never give up. So that's what he's talking about. He talks about most people are professional quitters. He says there are places where you can buy used fitness equipment all over the place, right? He says just about any town of any size has a place where you can go. People buy it and then it sits there. It's called great intentions. If you want success in any area of your life, you've got to decide to be a champion of your life and your dreams and actually use what you have. Actually take action. Don't just have good intentions. Like, oh, I bought the book, but it's just sitting there. Oh, I thought about that person, but I actually never made the call. I thought about going to the gym. That's a good intention, but I actually have to do the work, right? No quitting and taking action. He tells another story, and then at the end he says this. He goes, if we just tell our failure stories, it will not encourage people around us or our children. He talks about taking your children along with you. And are you going to be a parent of encouragement and casting vision for your kids or other people around you, employees or friends? Or are you that person that's constantly griping and whining and living in the past? He says, we don't need to tell us. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just body slammed you. All right. We don't need to tell those stories. 1 second. I'm almost done. Just wait. I'm almost done. We're doing some math over here. I said, will it distract you if I do my live while they're doing math? They just do some summer math. We've got to tell our stories of how we overcome the success that you have in your life, even the small successes, right? Stop sharing so much about struggles and start sharing about the things you've overcome. So here's the last thing I want to say. Whatever you do, you need to have courage. Whatever course you decide upon, there's always someone to tell you that you are doing it wrong. There are always difficulties arising, which tempts you to believe that your critics are right. To map out a course of action and follow it to the end requires some of the same courage which it would take a soldier needs. He's basically saying, it doesn't matter what you're going after in life. You're going to have people that are like, hey, listen, you're not going to be able to do that. And I feel like this book is basically in every chapter saying the same thing and just giving you a little bit of a different point, right? Today is not about quitting. It's great little chapters. We're going to chapter 31. We're on chapter 17 tomorrow. If you have any questions, please reach out and ask. You can go to ketomomsecrets.com and there's a book club where we've gone through book like Atomic Habits. That's one of my favorite books for creating healthy habits. The Miracle Morning. We've gone through a book called The Traveler's Gift. It's an incredible book. There's so many great books that you can learn from and then take action upon, right? So here's my encouragement to you. As you're learning and growing, make sure you're putting what you're learning into play, one thing at a time, and don't quit. If you have a bad day, it doesn't wreck the whole week. If you have a bad hour or made a bad choice, whatever that looks like to you, you can apologize. Maybe you yelled at your kids before you left. Like, own it. Do what you need to do to fix it or keep going and don't let it wreck the rest of your day. So thank you for tuning in. Your presence matters. This is the book that we're going through. We'll continue to go through this. And then very soon we'll be going through Ed Mylett's new book, Just One More. It'll be great. So I hope you guys have a great afternoon. I did get some really great questions on the last live I did yesterday. So later on today, I'll come on and do a live just about keto 101, just some keto questions. If you have any low carb, keto, health, how to get started, what does this mean? Like if you have any keto questions, if you want to ask them below, I'll come on and I'll look for the questions you've asked and I'll come back and answer those later this afternoon. Otherwise, send me a message. I hope you have an incredible afternoon or whatever time it is for you where you're tuning in from. And we'll talk to you very soon. Bye, everybody.